It's Monday, November 17th, and today we're doing something different. Instead of jumping around a bunch of immigration headlines, we're focusing on one story that's shaken an entire city and left a lot of families wondering what happens next. We're talking about the Charlotte immigration raids, the operation federal officials called Charlotte's Web, and why North Carolina's governor is saying this crackdown is stoking fear instead of making people safer. Over this past weekend, from Friday through Sunday, federal agents led by the Department of Homeland Security carried out a large immigration enforcement sweep in and around Charlotte, North Carolina. By Sunday night, Governor Josh Stein's office confirmed that more than 130 people had been taken into custody. This didn't happen in a single location. Families reported seeing armored vehicles and tactical teams at apartment complexes, workplaces, and even at roadside checkpoints. For many people, normal weekend routines were suddenly replaced with blocked entrances, flashing lights, and the sound of officers going door to door. The operation, codenamed Charlotte's Web, focused on undocumented immigrants, but here's one of the most troubling parts for families. Federal officials declined to provide a clear breakdown of who was arrested, exactly what charges they're facing, or how many people might now enter deportation proceedings. That lack of information is creating a dangerous gray area. If your spouse doesn't come home from work, or your neighbor disappears after a checkpoint, it's very hard to know where to call, who to ask, or what your rights are. For mixed-status families, where some members are citizens and others are not, the fear and confusion are even higher. Governor Stein says he first learned about the operation not from Washington, but from local law enforcement alerts as armored vehicles rolled into neighborhoods late Friday night. That timing matters. Local police agencies say they had little warning and limited details. By Monday morning, Stein stepped in front of cameras in Raleigh and called the tactics aggressive, uncoordinated, and harmful to community trust. In his words, this kind of surprise immigration crackdown might win political points in Washington, but on the ground in North Carolina, it's making people less likely to report crimes or cooperate with police. Think about what that means in real life. If you're a victim of domestic violence, a witness to a car accident, or someone who saw a serious crime, you might now hesitate to contact police because you're worried an immigration check could follow. For city leaders like Charlotte's mayor, that's not just an immigration issue. It's a public safety issue for everyone, regardless of status. When people are afraid of any interaction with law enforcement, crime goes further underground, and that affects entire neighborhoods. This is all happening under the broader backdrop of a renewed immigration enforcement push under President Trump. Large, high-profile operations like this are meant to send a message. The federal government is willing to mobilize significant resources to go after undocumented people deep inside the country, not just at the border. But that raises hard questions. Who exactly is being prioritized? Are these mostly people with serious criminal histories? Or are longtime residents with no criminal record getting swept up too? Without a public breakdown, families are left to imagine the worst. For parents in Charlotte, the timing of this operation, from November 15th to 17th, matters in a very personal way. Kids went to bed Friday night and woke up to stories of raids. Some children spent the weekend wondering if mom or dad would be there on Monday morning. Others went to school today, this Monday, carrying that fear with them, unsure if it's safe to come home to an empty apartment complex or a neighborhood that saw checkpoints over the weekend. So what can families do right now? First, know the key dates. This operation played out over the weekend and was publicly confirmed by Sunday evening, with the governor speaking out on Monday. That means today and this week are critical moments to check on loved ones, contact trusted local organizations, and, if possible, speak with an immigration attorney if someone you know has gone missing or been detained. Even though federal officials are not releasing many details, local immigrant advocacy groups often track where detainees are being held and can help families navigate those first urgent hours and days. It's also important to remember that people in the community still have rights, even in the middle of a large enforcement action. You generally do not have to open the door to officers unless they show a warrant signed by a judge with your name and address. You have the right to remain silent and the right to ask for a lawyer. And for U.S. citizen family members, it can help to gather important documents, plan emergency contacts for children, and stay informed about trusted legal resources in case another wave of enforcement comes. The Charlotte operation is one city's story, but it points to a larger national question. What does it mean to enforce immigration law in a way that protects public safety without tearing families apart or making entire communities afraid of calling 911? As more states and cities respond, we're likely to see increased tension between local leaders who want to preserve community trust and federal agencies focused on rapid, large-scale enforcement. We'll keep following what happens next in Charlotte, how many of those more than 130 people are placed in deportation proceedings, whether more details become public, and how local leaders and families respond in the days and weeks ahead. For now, if you're in North Carolina or know someone there, share accurate information, reach out to trusted community organizations, and stay alert to any new developments. You've been listening to a special in-depth episode looking at the Charlotte immigration crackdown and what it means for families on the ground. For more updates, practical guides, and deeper coverage of stories like this, visit visaverge.com and stay informed about your options and your rights.